Hi all, welcome and thanks for taking the time to have a look at this. I've come up with an experiment to test exactly whether the Earth is round as a ball or flat like a disc, and I'd like your opinion on it, so feel free to share something in the comment. Take a look at it. Doesn't matter what perspective, if you're from a ball Earth perspective or from a flat Earth perspective. I think this is going to be good for both of us. Imagine, if you like, we had a pipeline, and this pipeline was running parallel to the Earth, right around the Earth. And then in the pipeline we filled it up halfway, so only half of the pipe filled with water. Obviously, because of gravity, the water will be on the bottom half of the pipe, not on the sky side but on the Earth side. Now imagine if we had a look at this pipeline from a little bit further away from the Earth. There you can see the pipeline around the Earth and the water obviously in blue, and on the right hand side that small little image showing you the water halfway inside the pipe. Right, now how would gravity act on that water? Well, we could assume that it would pull all the water inward down to the ground towards the center of mass, the center of the Earth. Now, would the principle be the same if the pipe was only a quarter of the distance of the Earth? Remember, the whole of the Earth, we know that the water is going to pull all the way down to the ground. What about if it was only a quarter of the Earth? Would gravity still act the same on the water? Think about it. The water, if you stood next to the pipe and you could see in, you'd see the water level by that blue line over there. Now, it was a quarter of the Earth. Would gravity still act the same on the water? Obviously, we'd block both ends halfway so that the water wouldn't run out. What if it was less than a quarter of the Earth? What if it was only 1 kilometer long? Obviously we can calculate there is some curvature after 1 kilometer, obviously not very much, but there is some. So what if it was only 1 kilometer long? Would gravity still act the same on the water level? What do you think? Remember, water on the side of the ground, not on the side of the sky. So would the water stay at the bottom of the pipe? There's another way of looking at it. Put the Earth on the bottom, and on the top you can clearly see the pipe with half full of water. What would happen if we were to lift the end of the pipe, the lowest end of the pipe? If we lifted it up, what would happen to that water in the pipe? Well, obviously it's still going to try and conform to gravity. Remember, bend down, it's going to look like that. So half the pipe on the left and half the pipe on the right will be equal heights of water. But if we lifted the pipe up on the right hand side, there will be less water on the right and more on the left. Does this make logic sense? So that means if the Earth were a globe and we had a pipe and it was bent to the curvature of the Earth, if we then lifted the pipe so that it was a straight pipe, not parallel to the Earth, just a straight pipe, then the water on the right will be less than the water on the left. If the Earth was flat, the water would be the same height on the left and right hand side of the pipe. What do you think? Alright, let's re-look at this idea of lifting the pipe and seeing what the effect of the water will be. If you take a bottle and put some water in a bottle, and then you lift the one side of the bottle up and down, you'll notice that the water always remains parallel to the Earth. And this is what we'll do with the pipe. Just lift the one end of the pipe so that the pipe will be a straight pipe and not bent around the curvature of the Earth, parallel to the Earth. Does that make sense? Right, let's look at this from the globe perspective first. If we've got our straight pipe, the water on the right is lower than the water on the left. Now on each end, remember, we've blocked both ends halfway. So the water on the right side of the pipe wouldn't even come to the top of the end cap. The water on the left will be exactly level with the end cap. Now it wouldn't matter how much water we put in on the right hand side of the pipe, the water level will never increase. The excess water would just overflow on the left hand side. Right, now let's look at it from the point of view of a flat earth. So you got your pipe, it's level, and the water is level both ends. Do you see how that will work? Right, so what will happen if we now bend the pipe to be parallel to the curvature of the earth? How would that impact on the water? Well, obviously the water on the left will reduce and the water on the right will increase because the water is always level. Obviously then the water on the right will exceed the height of the end caps and literally just flow out. And eventually we'll end up with just a small little bit of water at the end of the pipe. So now considering our pipe with all the water in the pipe halfway up and the end caps blocked halfway up the pipe, what would the situation look like if we were to bend this pipe down to match the curvature of the earth? Bend it down to match the curvature of the earth. What would happen? Well, obviously the water will just run out. Well then, we could all just have a nice big glass of truth. Now, whether you like it or not, if water is in a pipe, or in a lake, or in an ocean, water is always level. The earth is flat. Come to terms with it. Time is up. So how much curvature is there? And how can we calculate the curvature? Alright, let's look at how we can calculate the curvature and how we can practically achieve this experiment. If you look at the diagram, R is the radius of Earth, B will be the length of pipe along the curvature of the Earth, A is the angle from the start point where the line from the center of the Earth intersects with the end of the pipe. V1 is the distance from the horizontal line from the start of the pipe to the earth at 90 degrees. V2 is the height that the pipe will need to bend down in order to get it parallel to the earth at the end of the pipe. H is the length from the center of the earth to the horizontal of the start point of the line intersecting at the end of the pipe. The first thing we need to do is find out what the radius of Earth is before we can get to the curvature calculation. Now, using the formula on the right, we can calculate that if we had a pipe 1 kilometer long, then there would be a 7.8 centimeter or 78 millimeter difference between the start of the pipe and the end of the pipe in height. So there's our pipe 1 kilometer long. The start point, the start of the arrow, and the end point, the end of the arrow. There will be a height difference from the start point to the end point of 7.8 centimeters. Now, in order to make this experiment 100% accurate, there's a few other things you need to take into consideration. One being your height above sea level. Obviously, these calculations that I've shown you so far will work 100% at sea level, but if you're above sea level, obviously you have to take that into account as well. Also, the height of the pipe above the earth. So if your pipe is situated 1 meter above the earth, that will have to be factored in as well. Right, to get your height above sea level, open Google Earth, zoom into the area that you are going to do your experiment at, and click on the show ruler icon. Right, then the ruler window will open, and there you can select whether you want the measurement to be done in kilometers or miles or centimeters or meters, whatever your choice is. Okay, so I've chosen an area in Johannesburg, reason being it's up on a plateau and it has a nice height above sea level. I thought I'd give you Globers the benefit of the doubt, just to show you that up at an elevated position there's still significant curvature. So click on the area where you want to start your experiment, and then click on the area where you want to end your experiment. I'll make it roughly about a kilometer. There we go, 1 kilometer. Then click on the save button and click OK. Now if you right click on the line that you just saved and select Show Elevation Profile, a little pane opens up at the bottom, and as you move your mouse along from left to right or up or down on your line, there you can see the height in meters above sea level. So now let's apply that to our formula. We will add the height above sea level to the radius of the Earth and also additional meter for the height of the pipe above the Earth. And as you can see over there, our V2 is 8.2849 centimeters. So in our pipe, a meter above the Earth with an additional factor of 1.766 kilometers because of the height above sea level, we still end up with an 8.2 centimeter fall. Now we build pipelines all over the show, in your cities, sewer lines, pipelines for all sorts of stuff. And the guys that do that are the architects, the civil engineers and the surveyors. And I encourage you, go and talk to them, show them this video and blow their minds, because as soon as they finish watching this video they will instantly be flat earthers. There is no ways that they take the curvature of the Earth into account in any of their projects. Ask them. Now building a pipeline can be a little complex, and it can also take something that most of us don't have, and that is money. So the following experiment is low budget but will give you the exact same resultant, and that is the Earth is flat. What you require is 2 water containers and enough hose that you can achieve at least 1 kilometer in length, or 1 mile if you prefer to do it in miles. What you'll need to do to start is get your 2 water containers, place them side by side and mark them evenly so that they both have a mark on them at the same height. You'll also need to remove both lids. This experiment works on the principle that you learnt about in high school, being that if you have 2 or more containers and they are joined, that the water level will always be uniform. What that means is that on a globe, if you have one water container a mile apart from another or a kilometer apart from another, the water level will be at the same height. There would however be a difference in the height of the one can to the other because of the curvature of the Earth. And that height would exactly be able to be calculated by your curvature calculation. So by using our curvature calculation that we had before, we know exactly what height to position the second water can. And that is 8.2 centimeters lower than the first. Now after you've positioned your water containers, and if the water level remains the same height in the can, then you've got nothing to worry about, the Earth is round. If however the water decreases slightly in this can, and you need to top it up to match your water line, and if it increases in this can, then you have a problem because the Earth is flat. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and I'd like to encourage you, do your own experiments, find out for yourself. Don't listen to this one or that one, just do your own experiments. It's the only way you'll know for sure. Peace out.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Chapter out of this book, Flat Earth Activist, which I published back in January. So before I actually did anything, I had a plan, and it's in this book. So I'm going to do a second edition to kind of cover what has actually been implemented from this book in the last 7 months. So this is Flat Earth Fiction, Art, and Culture. Politics is always downstream from culture. You reach more people by exiting the echo chambers and inserting your message into the culture. Always remember, we are in a mind war. The globe is a tool of psychological and socio-political control. It is imposed upon us. It dominates and monopolizes science fiction, fantasy, and all areas of popular culture. with its monolithic interpretation of what the world is. Anthropology is screwed up intentionally. Archaeology is similarly skewed. Giants, dragons, blood-sucking reptoids could all be our next-door neighbors. That's why flat earthers need to start producing art, poetry, and fiction on the subject. Thoughts always precede action, and we need to create mental blueprints to guide our future progress and wake up out of the globe paradigm. We at the tip of the spear need to be the vanguard of a cultural revolution with regards to how we represent ourselves as a species, as ensouled beings, and our relationship to power, to government, to authority, and to the globe paradigm itself. We have been taught to love the globe, but now it's time to hate it. We have to destroy it. Iconoclasm is what I'm calling for. We must use art to kill the illusion. Kill it in the minds of the brainwashed masses and declare the globe as dead. So that's what the purpose of the piñata obviously yesterday was, is it's the symbolically destroying their model, and gleefully so, candy, laughing, making a party out of it. And you know, on that note, yesterday we were at the Tricentennial, you know, in the side of the planetarium, the dinosaur museum, the fake history museum, and it, you know, really struck me. I was walking into this gathering here, and it's like, we have people from California, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, New York, Canada, and Texas, all converging on this one little event, this symbolic event, the destruction of the globe paradigm. And it just struck me that you don't have that kind of engagement with any subject, any topic, any hobby, any sport, where a group of people who don't know each other, except through the internet, would actually travel across the country on pretty much a short notice to do something like that in a park, something so spontaneous. And so it says something about how big of a deal this thing actually is. We might be nonchalant about it, like we figured it out a couple years ago or something, but it is still really the biggest and most transformative paradigm shock of our lives. And the rest of the world hasn't caught up yet. But the fact that we're all here right now, in fact, to me, really suggests that this thing is in no way going away. They can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, you know, it's out. So anyway, I want to also thank all the people here in the chat room, because this entire event has been funded by super chats, donations, people sending me art supplies. So this is also the work of the entire chat room, which we've maintained as a productive think tank and as a catalyst for action. So we put facts over feelings, action over drama, and we did so because of this, the feared wrench. The people who don't get it aren't here right now, and there's a reason for that. So anyway, thanks everyone here for showing up today, and I have something else here to read. It's written by Issa.
He's a shill.
Yeah. Woo. Wow, yeah.
Troll lover.
Yeah, this is Declaration of the Flat Earth Republic. And this was actually written specifically for this. He and I spoke about this before. He ran this by me, because what we're really getting at here is that we are rejecting a religious paradigm that was sold to us as reality. We were sold heliocentrism as science, when it in fact is nothing more than sun worship. It's a cult. That's what it is. It's an esoteric religion. And since we don't believe in this religion anymore, we shouldn't be forced to tithe. And I remember thinking about how when the Affordable Health Care Act first came out, Amish were able to opt out of it. So it's like, what can we opt out of? What do we have to pay for, since we no longer acknowledge that we're spinning on a ball hurtling through space at 66,600 miles per hour, but we are in fact on a stationary plane. So here it goes. When in the course of human events, as it becomes necessary for one people to grow a figurative pair of balls and dissolve the political, scientific, philosophic, and other disingenuous blood-sucking empirical connections to a dogmatic swath of society and stomp out the embers of any bands which have unfavorably connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth, including one's own God-given opinion about the shape of the earth, for Christ's sake, recognizing the separate and equal stations to which the contentious laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, maintaining a decent respect for the opinions of mankind, and understanding that some people are too far deluded to get the hint it requires that they should declare the causes which impel them into separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal on a flat, stationary plane of existence, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the right to recognize that there has been a covert action to separate the intelligent from the sheep, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, not enslaving them with titles of nobility, gravity, heliocentrism, dogmatic bureaucracy. And when it becomes destructive of these ends, including but not limited to any manufactured welfare system built to destroy the family unit, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new government and a new cosmology with philosophical openness, laying the foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form, say, as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness, prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to accept the lies about fake space programs and suffer faux freedom than to right themselves, recognizing their true inherent worth and establishing a love of mankind through art and technology by abolishing the forms to which they foolishly become accustomed, like watching hours of The Big Bang Theory and Kim Kardashian. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations like mental, physical, and financial slavery, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right and duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future and say, fuck the world and the brainless zombies that jack my shit. And the sovereign people coping with a society that can barely read, much less think freely without the consent of their masters, those that would be satisfied with every answer from their soulless indoctrination are worthy cattle and have no place in this declaration. The history of the great present king of Britain and his United States and its pharmaceutically lobotomized subjects is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations due to a lack of understanding. This has changed as the information is now readily available due to the electronic printing press, the internet. It has become clear that our forefathers have waged the intelligence passed down, and we of this proud nation seek to fulfill our fathers' wishes and show that amongst us are the children of man, and we are the willing purveyors for understanding and wish of private peace. When the day arrives to truck the cattle that are yours to FEMA concentration camps, because humans are generally violent and suck, we must be assured that you have been given notice that we, the people of the Flat Earth Republic, are physically, but not intellectually, amongst these masses, and our distinction shall be evident when we reveal our status as the super-secret priority interest holders, appearing specifically to accept any charging instrument for set-off. We, in turn, insist that there are no atheists on the new flat world order, and we are learning to care for our earth and live in peace when the heavens decree. So we as a nation understand, as the children of Adam, our inheritance was loaned for the benefit of all. We reserve those rights to discharge any encumbrances ever incurred or incurred by our members of the Flat Earth Republic, pursuant to the private and historical ethic in the written and unwritten historical law codified in the private commercial code. From henceforth till forever, with our progeny without recourse, we of the Flat Earth Republic give notice that we are willing to help our debtors and within our rights settle any contract by endorsement upon presentation of any charging instrument for discharge. Now, if there is any instrument, respond in 30 days under notary seal, penalty of perjury with a point-by-point rebuttal showing any defect in this instrument, or let the record show that the Flat Earth Republic shall be evident to discharge any encumbrance henceforth. Let the record show that failure to respond to this notice shall show agreement that any photocopy, email, or presentment of this instrument shall be considered worth whatever face value of any charging instrument is allegedly owed by a member of the Flat Earth Republic, and you shall know us by our commercial dealings, as we will appear surprisingly with honor, integrity, and the respect endowed by the children of Adam. So in the name of the creator of the stationary plane, created by man, for man by our creator, let us rejoice together and respect each other as we abide in peace, prosperity, and may we move forward in the way of truth, life, love, and a sense of humor. Flat Earth, forever, rock and rule, yo. Isa Mahakalsi. And that would be Flat Earth Court. Flat Earth Court's the YouTube page. All right. Anyone else?
Anyone else going? Oh, here we go.
Flat Earth Court.